Coach, O-line coach, Alex Mirabal.
And so, obviously new center, but everybody else coming back with experience. How much does that help with building the chemistry, building the camaraderie, knowing that you have guys who have been here multiple years?
Well, he's a new center, but he's also a kid who started 12 games last year at TCU. So he's new in Miami, but he's not new in the game of football. He comes from a football family. His father was a first-round pick of the Carolina Panthers out of Texas, Blake Brockermeyer. His other brother played for a period. One of his brothers played at Texas as a linebacker. The other brother played with him at Alabama before he went to TCU. So you're talking about a guy who comes from football bloodlines, right? When I was out at Oregon, I recruited him out of Episcopal. Obviously, we didn't get him at Oregon. He ended up going to Alabama out of high school. So I've known James and his family for a period of time, right? We've had, we had Matt Lee come in, we had Zach Carpenter come in. So it's old hat for us that we have a center coming in, and how that whole dynamic needs to work, right? Because at the end of the day, the center needs to be the leader of the room, both in the classroom and on the field. So he's been doing a great job with that in terms of James.
But you got 6 guys with a lot of experience, obviously. The depth behind them, are you comfortable with them? I know last year you said
I'm never comfortable.
Well,
comfort and the game of football don't go together. So I try to stay uncomfortable. I never feel like we have enough. So it's something that we're now working in spring ball to try to get more guys. Right now, and I think he probably said, man, he said that last year. I probably feel we have 7, 8 guys right now that we can roll out there against Notre Dame on game 1 and play with. And my job as the offensive line coach, Coach Cristobal's job as the head coach is for us to increase that number in the room. So that's what we're working on now with those other guys. You got Tommy Kinsler, who's now becoming one of those guys that's emerging in that aspect. Samson Okunola, Frank Avila, so Juan Minaya. So those guys now it's their turn to start stepping up, and if the opportunity arises, that they take advantage of.
How much growth did you see out of Markel last year?
Well, everybody talks about Markel Bell. Hey, we got to replace Jalen Rivers. Well, to me, you would replace Jalen Rivers. But Jalen Rivers had 583 snaps last year. Markel Bell had 544. And that's an actual number. I looked it up before I came out here because I know that everybody wants to talk about all that, right? So you lost a guy who had 583 snaps, and a guy right now who's going in that spot at left tackle who's got 544 snaps last year. So to me, he's a starter coming back, right? And then you've got, McCoy's out. Well, McCoy started a great portion of the year. People forget that Rodriguez was a starter when we went into the game against Florida, right? Then Brockermeyer, he didn't start here, but he started 12 games at TCU. And as Cooper has now started going into his 3.5 years here, right? And Mawinoa, Cece is now going into his 3rd year. So those guys are, guys that are experienced, that have old eyes. You can't teach experience. Right? You can't teach things that those guys have seen that you can't really go through in the classroom. You can't go through on the field. I read somewhere where Cece said to somebody in the media that there's a lot of times that him and Inez don't even communicate. And that's just because they've been next to each other for so long, right? And you see them out here on the field, you see them on game day next to each other, but they also sit next to each other in the film room, right? In our film room, we sit according to how we are on the field. So right now, Markel's sits on the left side of the room, Rodriguez is next to him, Brockermeyer's in the middle, Cooper's here, Mawinoa's here, right? And then the second group sits right behind them, so that they can, because while we're watching film, they're constantly communicating. So that's something that we work on every day that we're in that room.
And with Markel, I think Mario mentioned yesterday or Tuesday that obviously he's got the size, but he's been working a lot on his technique. How has this thing kind of come along maybe from this point last year?
Oh, he's night and day. I mean, he's a 180. He's a different football player than he was when he first came here. And he came here with a great foundation from his offensive line coach at junior college, Les George. So, but he just keeps getting better and better, and with repetition. And he's, it's starting to be this with Markel. And I thought about this morning when I was jogging. Markel, at first, it was always, oh wow, he's big. Yeah, no doubt, he's 6'9". But now he's starting to play where Now people are talking about his level of play. People are talking about his technique and not just the fact that he's 6'9". He's a darn good football player who happens to be 6'9", right? So just his fundamentals and his technique, and you know, everybody 6'9" is borderline. You know, man, it's a blessing and a curse as an offensive lineman, right? So he's got to work his tail off when he's 6'9" to not play as like he's 6'9", to play like he's 6'3" and 6'4". He's doing a great job of doing that.
And with Inez, Mario said on Tuesday that he might be having the best spring of anyone, at any position. What has he done over the course of the first couple of weeks to kind of set himself apart like that?
The invisible stuff that is only seen to those who watch film, the way that he's finishing in the run game, the way that he's finishing in the pass game, which are, you know, to go from 10 wins to more than 10 wins, it's hard. It's hard. People think going from 10 to 11 or 10 to 12 or 10 to 13 or whatever is going to be easy. That's going to be the hardest undertaking that we have, because those are the invisible things. The invisible things are the things that are going to close that margin, that are going to help us get over that hump. And he's doing those things right now. And by him doing it, he's setting the example for all the other guys on this is how we break the huddle, this is how we run up to line of scrimmage, this is how we get set, this is how we finish when it's a run, this is how we chase when it's a pass. So he's doing those things now, and that's what's separating him now.
Coach, we know Carson Beck obviously can't throw, but does he get back there? Does the guys have to try to know what kind of pocket he likes and stuff like that? Is that a thing?
You know what? So obviously Carson's not out there with us in terms of taking reps. He's out there.
Right.
That's going to happen. You can't get used to it until he's back there. You know what I'm saying? Like with Cam, and honestly, like we got used to how Cam did stuff in the pocket when we played Florida, right? Because in practice, stuff gets blown dead. So I had no idea when Cam got back there against Florida and he got flushed out of the pocket. I had no idea, is he going to tuck the ball and run? Or is he going to tuck the ball, stop, and chuck it down the field over people's head? I had no idea what was going to happen there, right? Because that doesn't happen in practice, right? Because you got to protect the quarterback, right? So that they blow stuff dead. So when Carson does get out there with us, you know, I'll have some kind of a feel for what he's going to do in the pocket. But until he lines up against Notre Dame and it's live, and now, you know, because now, right now, at practice, the quarterback's sitting back there, the defensive end's 8 yards away, sack! Really? That's not going to happen, right? But we have gone and I personally, by myself, have watched all his film at Georgia, where you know, was he 24-3, and I myself have watched. Okay, how does Carson react when the pocket breaks down? When the pocket breaks down and he gets flushed, right? What is he doing? Is he has his eyes downfield and trying to throw the ball, or is he trying to tuck it and run? So I've got that analyzed, and I'm not going to share that, but I've got it analyzed, and I know how I'm going to coach up the offensive line on that. I'm not doing that right now because he's not out there, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's competitive, and he's going to be awesome.
With the younger guys, SJ, Max, Jaden, Demetrius, how they're coming along so far? Your impression of them?
You know what? They're like, oh my gosh. So I asked them when we've had recruits in town. The recruits sometimes grab them, and I say, ask them what the biggest difference is, you know, and they just say the intensity. And when they say the intensity that there's thousands of coaches out here, right, and we're on their tail about everything, right? Get down, break the huddle, get down, put your hand down. You know, you don't have all day, right? So it's all of that stuff. So right now they're like, those four cats, and they're great kids, but they're like, if someone dropped them off in the middle of US 1 at rush hour, they're like, oh, wow, right? And that's really what it is, and it'll start slowing down for them. But I love it. I love it because, you know, you got all these young guys that come in that are 9 stars, 30 stars, and all the recruiting guys love it, and they wait till they get here.
Watching Cam Ward stand flat-footed behind your offensive line and with the great protection last year, how did you process that?
Cool dude. It was just that's who Cam was. That's who Cam was, and Cam had a lot of confidence in those guys up front. Sometimes I'd be like, throw it, throw it, throw it. So, but he's Cam. That's part of who he was, right? And someone's going to be blessed and lucky to get that guy. And for anybody to think that there's any better player in the country other than him, they don't obviously watch film.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank him to talk about the offensive line. I can't wait.
I wanted to ask him about Sampson, but
He talked about him.
did he? No.
Yeah, he talked about
Did he
Simpson.
mention him?
Yeah,
Did
he
he?
mentioned
I
him.
missed
He
it.
said it's his turn.
Oh, you don't want it? I keep it now.
Questions?